AM 870, KRLA The Answer. It's David James. Welcome to KRLA Presents, an opportunity for us to really get to know one of our longtime advertisers on a more intimate basis. I mean, we hear 60-second ads, which are awesome, but really find the heart and the passion behind, for example, the law office of David Lupoff, the catastrophic injury attorney. To get the heart of David and for you to know that, look, at the law offices of David Lupoff, the complex workers' comp, the major injury cases, they require a unique knowledge and strategic legal skills that most lawyers lack. And so we're going to introduce you to David Lupoff here. He's a catastrophic injury attorney. David, thank you for joining us here on KRLA Presents.
I feel honored being here, David.
You call yourself the catastrophic injury attorney on your side. 15 years you focused on the complex workers' comp cases? 15 years?
Correct.
What determines a catastrophic injury? What is a catastrophic injury, David?
A catastrophic injury usually involves a spinal cord, brain damage, severe bodily burns, blindness, hearing loss, amputations, severe internal injuries, et cetera, et cetera. It could be one of those or something other than combined injuries together.
It sounds like it's a very exhaustive and very skilled set that it takes in order to be able to work that. Not just any attorney can work a catastrophic injury case.
That's correct. I mean, most attorneys out there get a catastrophic case now and then, and it's good for their caseload, but it does require a special skill set. You have to know how to communicate with the facilities, the hospitals, the family, and the client, him or herself. It's very difficult, because it's not just an injury, it's a change of lifestyle that happens overnight.
And you take really stock and really, quite frankly, personal pride in the fact that you only take on a few hundred cases. You're not like setting you apart from, I would assume, those that we see on TV get thousands and thousands of calls, and that personal attorney himself or herself isn't going to be able to handle all 1,000, 2,000 of the people that are calling. I suspect that they're going to parse that out to paralegals and others perhaps in the firm. It sets you apart when you're just saying, look, I personally deal with only a select amount of cases, because it sounds to me it requires an awful lot of time and dedication on your part to fulfill the needs of the person, the family, and the person you're representing.
Correct. A catastrophic case requires a lot of time. It requires more time than your average file, because you're communicating with the family members on a regular basis. They want to know what's happening. Again, it is an instant change of lifestyle and not for the better. So a lot of families have to adjust. The client has to adjust. They're in a facility. They're paralyzed. They're quads. They're tetraplegics. It's a mess. They got third-degree burns all over their body. It's horrible what these poor people have to go through, and I walk them through it to the best I can, and they absolutely do require a lot of time and attention.
Well, and you were, as we were setting up for the program, we're talking to David Lupoff. He is the catastrophic injury attorney. It's David James here on KRLA, 877-505-INJURY, 877-505-INJURY, a free consultation when you make this call at 877-505-INJURY. And this is really important, David. We were talking as we were preparing the program. I mean, insurance companies, certainly, we can't necessarily trust the insurance carriers to be on our side every step of the way. And you were sharing, you've got a number of cases, example after example, where the insurance carrier was not meeting the expectation of what was needed for the client. And after a spinal cord injury, after blindness and amputation. I mean, those are serious matters, and they were still struggling to get the insurance company to provide what needed to be provided.
No, that's correct. I see denials that I cannot comprehend. I see physical therapy denials. A spinal cord injured patient, for instance, like a paraplegic or a quad and whatnot, these spinal cord injured patients require physical therapy at least a few times a week to avoid blood clots, atrophy, bed sores, and other disorders that arise from just sitting there, basically.
Sure.
And they're denied. MRIs are denied. Ultrasounds are denied. All kinds of treatments are denied, and diagnostic testing is denied.
Hold on, David. How often do these denials happen? A lot?
Well, they happen 80% of the time. I see them
80%?
come across my desk. Yeah, correct. It's quite insane. Luckily, I'm able to reverse many of them. They're quite challenging, but most attorneys have been throwing their hands up. It's a very frustrating system today.
Really setting you apart is the fact that it takes a lot of time to do this, and you only represent a certain select amount of cases and people and individuals. So why trust someone else that they're going to get thousands and thousands of calls when they should call you, because that person may not even be a skilled attorney to handle these specific skill sets it requires with a catastrophic injury?
Absolutely. When treatment is denied, you have to be able to navigate yourself around the denials, and even with my talents, it's still very difficult. But for your average attorney, especially some of the volume dealers, it's just impossible.
Do you find quite a bit of catastrophic injuries taking place? Are they there might be many people listening right now who say, well, I don't know how common that is. It's pretty common, these catastrophic injuries that take place. I personally have a number of friends. I have a dear colleague of mine here at the radio stations who, in a motorcycle accident, was in a coma for a month, and he passed away after that month. But these are pretty common to take place, whether it be at work or on the road or at home.
Yes. Well, first I want to say I'm sorry for the loss of your friend. It's very tragic when we lose a loved one. And yes, they do happen anytime. Really, nobody ever wakes up in the morning and thinks, gee, I'm going to have a catastrophic injury today. They come on suddenly. You don't see them coming. Boilers explode, car accidents happen, different things happen to different people. So they are very common. But catastrophic injury could hit anyone at any time.
I guess the question I have for you, it's David Lupoff. He's the catastrophic injury attorney. You can call him at 877-505-INJURY, 877-505-INJURY. I know in the particular instance of a catastrophic injury taking place, most of us aren't going to be immediately aware of calling someone at that moment, because we're dealing with all of the ambulance immediately going to the hospital and everything. But what would be your thoughts on encouraging people to make sure that if there's an incident that happens, that they have your number and prepared, ready to call you? What would be your thoughts for our listeners that way?
Well, it's a really good question. When a catastrophic injury occurs, the family and friends are very busy just dealing with what happened. They get a call from the hospital, the cops come to their door, and to be quite frank, people are just shocked. They go into a state of shock, and appropriately so. You have to keep in mind, with all that being said, that when such tragedies occur, there are law firms that have police scanners, they pay off doctors, they somehow get to you right when the accident happens or the next day, and most of those communications are contrary to the state bar rules, but they do it anyways. It's illegal, and you don't want to trust a law firm that acts illegally. You have to use a lot of wisdom and discernment in choosing your attorney very carefully. It's best to get a lawyer involved. It's best to get me involved specifically because I take some of that weight off your hands in dealing with the hospitals, with the police department, with whoever I have to deal with, and with the insurance companies specifically.
And that's, yes, and that's very important because, again, many of the cases you have, a lot of these insurance companies are not paying for the services that need to be done, like we just talked about with spinal cord injuries, with these other such injuries. The care needs to happen around the clock in order for the person to be cared for correctly. The phone number is 877-505-INJURY, 877-505-INJURY. Free consultation with David Lupoff, the catastrophic injury attorney. And David, also, whether it comes workers' comp, auto accidents, accidents at work, you also represent people who just have a simple accident that need representation.
All the time. And I transfer a lot of my skills from being a catastrophic injury attorney to my average cases, to the smaller injuries. And I don't mean to say smaller in a really bad way, because a smaller injury to me is a serious injury to somebody else. So in no way am I trying to belittle your injury. I'm just saying that I pay close attention to all my files, and I do transfer those skills, and believe me, I've become more effective because I'm a catastrophic injury attorney.
David Lupoff, he's going to fight for us get the benefits and fair financial compensation you deserve. That's what you do, David. We have about a minute that remains. Share your heart with the KRLA listener, whether they're in need of representation because they had an auto accident or they find themselves with a family member who has had a catastrophic injury. Go ahead and talk a little bit to our listener right now and maybe encourage them to call you at that number for the free consultation.
Yeah, my job is to lift some of the burden off your hands, and it's horrible to have your life change so quickly in seconds. And it is my job to deal with the insurance carriers, help navigate the families through the system, and at the end of the day, try to do what's best for the client.
I can tell that you really take a real vested interest in your clients. It's not like you have a herd of client, paralegal. I mean, you're taking personal representation. This is not something you're parsing to somebody else.
Absolutely. But I do want to say I have an excellent team that allows me to maximize the value of your case. And what that means to you is that you could trust my entire office day in and day out. But I do work on the files myself, and I find by doing so, I'm way more effective when I'm in court or in a deposition.
His name is David Lupoff, the law offices of David Lupoff. Again, complex workers' comp, major injury cases. The phone number is 877-505-INJURY, 877-505-INJURY. Free consultation right now to you, our KRLA family, 877-505-INJURY. 15 years he's focused on complex workers' comp cases, routinely handles many multi-million-dollar injury law claims. No one does it any better. David Lupoff, the catastrophic injury attorney. You can search him on Facebook. Search Law Offices of David B. Lupoff, Lupoff. It's Facebook. Search Law Offices of David B. Lupoff. And give David and his team a call right now. 877-505-INJURY. David, thank you for joining us here on KRLA Present.
Thank you very much, David. It was a pleasure.
So KRLA family, call now for your free consultation. 877-505-INJURY. Keep the number handy. 877-505-INJURY. And again, on Facebook, search Law Offices of David B. Lupoff. Until next time, it's David James.